On this video adventure, I'm here at Volo Auto Museum in Volo, Illinois. So let's start on the video and let's start going through and buying our ticket. So they actually have a new entrance right now. I think they put it in last year, 2024, or maybe this year. So all the ticket sales are through here. Here's the main entrance. Here's the new building that they put in for the main entrance. Here we are at the Titanic Exhibit. This is fairly new. A couple years ago, I believe they put it in. Just have to scan through the thing here. This replica of the anchor will give you an idea how massive the center anchor was on the Titanic. Here's some info on the Titanic. I actually did the Titanic Chicago one that they had maybe a year and a half ago that had all the different artifacts as well. This is half scale replica. Valued at over $6 million, three of the most important cars in the history of Titanic, preserved in a private museum in Europe for over 112 years. Now on permanent display at the Volo Museum. Well, that's awesome. Here's an overview of some of the cars now, and we'll get a closer look at each one in a minute. Just want to give you a quick overview of three of the cars here, then they have a couple more on the other side. Cars in this exhibit are Titanic era cars. Here's going up the second aisle with some more of the cars here. And like I said, I'll go into more detail on the cars as I go past each one. I just want to give you a good overview of Volo Museum Titanic Exhibit looks like. Here's some information on Benjamin Guggenheim, as well as the two other people who accompanied him on Titanic, as well as the car. This shows his last ride in the car, which was actually to get on the Titanic, where they boarded it. This is another Titanic era car. This is a 1911 Carter car. This car is 114 years old as of 2025. The most important piece of Titanic history you'll ever see. It's a doomed French luxury car. The only car listed on the Titanic Manifest, owned by William Carter and his wife Lucille. So let's take a look at this car in person now, with the last remaining one of the two that were ever built. Here's more history on the Renault of William Carter. This is a 119-year-old Peugeot Royal Victoria from 1906. This is actually part of the actual Volo Museum's permanent collection. Here's some of the wardrobes that they would have worn. Titanic fashions. Lounge panel fragment is at the top left. The brass that spells out C deck located on the C deck. Here's what a 1912 Kodak box camera looks like.
These are the Strausses, Isadora and Lena, who refused a spot in the lifeboat while there were younger people still waiting to board.
This talks about the heart of the ocean and if it was real. This also talks about the Hope Diamond, which also was not on the Titanic. This next exhibit was really good because they have the water at 28 degrees, so you put your hand in there to feel how cold the water was when the Titanic sank. Wow, that's cold. This map shows the first and final voyage of the Titanic. This is the exercise equipment that would have been on Titanic. This is one that was obviously not on Titanic, but one just like it. And there you can see in the picture of where it was on Titanic. Here's some of the Titanic first, second, and third class dining china. You can see all the different stuff here. Nice thing is these are just out, which is kind of nice, so you can see them. You don't get the reflection of the glass. Here's first class dining. Last meal was a 10-course meal. This exhibit is really cool because it has the last 18 minutes of the Titanic. And you can see from 15 degrees up to 45 degrees. You can actually see how long you could hang on for. So we'll start at the 15 degrees at 1:50 a.m. It's actually not too bad. It was pretty easy to do this one. Then moving on to 2:05 and the 30-degree slope. This one was a little bit more challenging, but you know, it was able to be done. Now at 2:18, the 45-degree slope, that one I really couldn't even do at all. That is a really high slope. In this scene, it depicts the telegraph room and the different equipment that would have been in there. Here we have a Chadburn, as well as the helm or the ship's wheel that would have been on Titanic. Here's some different memorabilia and some different facts about Titanic. These are all over and they're framed really nice, and they have different stories about different people. This one with the puppet talks about the 53 children lost on Titanic. This talks about one of the orchestra violinists, Wallace Hartley, and his violin. The story is about a family of 4. They were looking for the 1-year-old son who was with the nanny, but unfortunately the other 3 drowned. Here's a story of a female passenger, and she didn't want to leave without her dog, and unfortunately she was found later with the dog in her arms. Here's some Titanic era life jackets and what they would have looked like. Here's some 1910 era clothing of what passengers might have worn. See all the different stuff there. And then at the end they actually have the captain's uniform. Here's a small model of the RMS Titanic. And the different stuff that went wrong. So that concludes the Titanic exhibit. A lot of cool stuff in there. Definitely worth coming out, even for that. This was my first time doing the Titanic experience here.
What about around the hole?
Yeah.
The bearing straight?
Yep.